I simply adore Amy's impression of me.
Oh, well, my ears are ringing.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, well, thank you for coming. I love your outfit. The real one? Bye.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
It's the most talked about political show on TV. And it's not one of the nightly news programs or Sunday morning talk shows. It's a sketch comedy show that airs live on Saturday nights. We went to the SNL studios to ask creator and executive producer Lorne Michaels, as well as head writer Seth Meyers, why they're the longest-running comedy show in history and why they've had such a great impact on the political world. Lorne Michaels, how does it feel to be more influential in the political process than Meet the Press, Face the Nation, Sunday with Chris Wallace, the whole gamut of Sunday shows?
Well, it's nice to hear that. I'm not sure it's true, but it's nice to hear it, yeah.
I mean, I think it really has perhaps become increasingly apparent that Saturday Night Live pushes the reset button in the political discussion. And time and again, when campaigns sort of get bogged down, it's Saturday Night Live that sort of brings something back into focus, not unlike the moment where the press seemed to be really giving Barack Obama a free ride and Hillary was really taking a pounding, and Saturday Night Live said, hold it. I mean,
yeah.
You have to acknowledge that your show has had this dramatic impact on the process.
I think that on that one, you know, it was a sort of perfect storm. I mean, the writer's strike had just ended, and I thought Tina, who was, you know, emblematic of the writer's strike, I thought she was the right person to be hosting, and Jim Downey wrote that first debate piece, and it did seem to us that the media were in something of a swoon for Obama, and the pieces we'd done before the strike were about Hillary as the entitlement candidate, and so the inevitability of her win was sort of where we were getting laughs at the beginning. So by the time we came back on, this thing had shifted, and Tina did the update, her little editorial moment, bitch is the new black.
Bitches get stuff done. That's why Catholic schools use nuns as teachers and not priests. Those nuns are mean old clams, and they sleep on cots, and they're allowed to hit you. And at the end of the school year, you hated those bitches, but you knew the capital of Vermont. So I'm saying it's not too late, Texas and Ohio. Get on board. Bitch is the new black.
There was so much, you know, not repressed, but, you know, pent up emotion and frustration over not having been allowed to be on the air for those 4 or 5 months, that we just sort of exploded on the air, and I think people on some level missed us, and
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But SNL is not new to having an impact on the way people perceive politicians. Seth, when you guys start a skit, or you're looking down the road and saying, this is what we're going to do, what do you start with? What is the blank slate, and you say, okay, we want to get to this goal, this destination? Do you have sort of a target in mind? I mean, I think a lot of people say, here's what they want to do to, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Sarah Palin or John McCain.
Well, it's been fascinating for us just how when you have a campaign that everyone is paying attention to, people will thin slice the sketch and try to find the meaning in everything. I will tell you, and I speak for most comedy writers, what you desperately look for in the beginning is just the nugget of an idea that you can start with.
and a way that you're going to be funny with it.
Yeah. So you don't really look at a destination as much as, you know, how are you going to get there and be funny the whole way.
Yeah, and we don't have editorial meetings. You know, people suggest ideas, and somebody goes, "Yeah, I think that would be funny that way." I mean, and I think you're always there. You're always trying to find the way into it that is fresh, and that and nothing is more tiresome than partisan. And I think the fact that both campaigns are so on message, and you hear the same thing out of so many different people's mouths, the exact same thing over and over, you want somebody just to validate that what you're thinking is true, and comedy is the release of that.
And satire and parody have to have a basis in fact and truth. You can't just make something up.
Totally, yeah.
What makes it funny is that you're really picking out something that really did happen and turning the volume up on it, making it so that people hear that part of it a little more.
And if it doesn't ring true, you're not going to get the laugh. And the laugh is the sort of validation that they are, and you can't make them laugh, as I've found out year after year at dress rehearsal. But you have to...
Can't make them vote either.
No, exactly, yes. But you can urge them to vote, which people do.
The gift of this cycle has been that so many people have been paying attention to this election. It's been so interesting on even a non-comedy level that we've been able to make jokes about the minutiae in a way that I feel like 4 years ago we weren't able to. 70 million people watched the vice presidential debate. We could make jokes about every single tiny part of that, because even after it aired, you have all these cable news shows that are re-airing parts of it over and over again. By the time Saturday rolled around, it was a perfect situation for us.
What is amazing to me, though, is that it's not just the comedy shows that will take clips from you guys. I mean, I think we've used a clip from Saturday Night Live every week of my show, but I'm watching all these serious news shows. It doesn't matter whether it's Brit Hume or if it's ABC or CBS. They all are picking out your clips, highlighting what you guys do. It's almost like the comedy becomes more of a relevant issue than the original comment.
I don't think anybody's making their decision in the election based on, I saw that sketch and I thought it was, I think you can help define who a candidate is, but not as much as the candidate helps define who the candidate is, with starting, in the very early days of the show, when Chevy was doing Gerald Ford, he made no effort at all to look like Gerald Ford, which was sort of our joke in 1975. But he defined him as somebody because what happened just before we came on was Ford had fallen down, and so Chevy doing that became, even though Ford was an athlete, even though that wasn't but something rang true in it, and the good-naturedness of the way Chevy played him, and seemed also to be true of Ford himself. And so there's a moment in that first debate we ever did with Ford Carter when he gets asked a very complicated question, Chevy, and there's a slow move in, and he says, "I was told that there would be no math." And it was a big laugh in terms of how to define what we thought of Gerald Ford, but he wasn't an unlikable person. And I don't think what I learned from that is that, defining someone and making them unpleasant and unlikable, nobody really wants to watch. So you have to find the way into the person that's interesting.
Have you ever done a sketch that you thought went over the top after it was over? Not probably when you wrote it, but the reaction to it or something. Anytime you ever went back and said, maybe we're just a little bit much on that one.
You mean unfair, or
either unfair or that you really skewered somebody, that you just would, if you had it to do over, you might do it a little differently?
Well, everything
about the one you did with...
Basically, it takes 1,191 delegates to clinch your party's nomination, and even if you won every remaining unpledged delegate, you would still fall 200 delegates short.
Wow. Seth, that was an excellent explanation. But I'm afraid that you overlooked the all-important superdelegates. Don't forget about them.
Okay. Well, I won't forget about them, but the superdelegates are only in the Democratic primaries.
They can't vote in the Republican primary?
They cannot.
Uh-oh.
Things get vetted. I mean, we read it on Wednesday, then it gets rehearsed, then the first audience sees it at dress rehearsal. And if you can tell if there's gasps or if there's like an ooh or whatever, you can tell when something's not landing right. And I think we make adjustments there. I don't think there's ever, things can get, maybe influenced by anger or outrage, but I think watching pure anger or pure outrage it's not going to work on a comedy show.
The shrillest stuff is the first stuff you cut.
Yeah.
So, Seth, the election's going to be over in a few days.
Yeah.
What the heck are you guys going to do? I mean, this provides this mountain of material, and then you're going to be back to, entertainers and...
Yeah.
The government is not going away.
We wish it would, but we can't get it to go away. That's the problem.
There will still be somebody. There will still be something for us to do every week.
Yeah.
but nothing will be like, this has been an amazing ride.
There will be no, I mean, the falling economy does not provide the same laughs as the sort of big characters that are running for president. Plus, you know, a presidential election is a contest. It's it has a very dramatic unfolding, and that really lends itself to comedy. And historically, you know, it always serves our show really well. And when it's over, it's a little harder.
We'll have part 2 of my interview with Lorne Michaels and Seth Meyers on next week's show.